Now, today we've got 7 speakers, not including me, and we've got 90 minutes. And each speaker will have 10 minutes or so. If not, I'll cut them off if they go over that. And that includes any questions. If they go 8 minutes, we might have some questions. Otherwise, we'll have questions at the end. Okay? Now, automation, digitalization, big data. It's all the buzzwords today in the container industry. But I've been in many industries over the years, and all this digitalization, big data has been around for years. I've worked in mining and bulk terminals, and the container industry is still behind the times, I believe, in technology. It's all there available. We've just got to utilise it more. We don't utilise it enough. But it's great that we are modernising today. Bit late compared to other industries, but it's great that we're doing it. So how we are modernising and how we are transforming port operations, well, let's find out from our speakers, because I'm here to learn as well. So our first speaker today is John Lund. John's the Global Sales and Marketing Director for Visy Oy, and John will talk about the digitalisation of damage detection. Welcome, John.
Great. Thank you, Lawrence. And thank you, TOC, for hosting this event. I'm sure many of you feel the same, that this event so far has been a family reunion of sorts. I haven't been at a TOC since 2019, so it's great to see so many familiar faces and to have this opportunity to share with you. So my name is John Lund, Sales and Marketing Director of Visy Oy. Today I'm going to be talking about the digitalization of damage detection, and I challenge any of you to say that 3 times fast. Great. So an overview of the presentation today. I'm going to be talking just very briefly, who is Visy, what do we do? Then I'm going to talk about the power of imagination and how this relates to terminal operations. Tie that into vision technology, how vision technology is used to automate different processes in the terminal, including damage detection, and then pull it all together with a case study from TPS in Indonesia, and just leave you with a closing thought. And I promised Lawrence I would keep all of this to no more than 10 minutes and 30 seconds, so we have to go fast. So Visy, who are we? What do we do? We are a process automation company working in ports, terminals, and logistics. We use vision technology, such as optical character recognition, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. But the world of vision technology is much more than just OCR, right? It's artificial intelligence to extract a wide amount of data from every image of everything going in or out of your facility. And we've been at this for quite a long time, since the 90s. And in the world of vision technology, data is power, and for us, data means images, an image catalog. We have more than 1 billion images in our library from which we can train our algorithms to ensure that you have the most accurate vision technology on the market. And we're a global player. On a daily basis, we're managing about 5 million access control events for our partners and customers around the world. So when we're talking about damage detection and KPIs and things of that nature, we like to have this philosophy of making sure the right thing is in the right place at the right time. We're using OCR for that, like I mentioned. We're using RFID. We're using driver kiosks. And we're verifying everything that goes in or out of the facility, whether it's by gate, right, by rail, by key, and then even verifying a lot of the handover processes within the terminal. Why are we doing this? It's all tying back to the key performance indicators. I think some of them that you're very familiar with are truck turnaround time, right, TTT. That's a KPI that we very strongly impact. Moves per hour on the crane. This is a very important KPI for many operators. And these are the types of things that we're verifying to give you a scalable, repeatable, predictable, and profitable operation. And we'll do all of this by verifying that data with the TOS. We're not a TOS provider. We partner with TOS suppliers to verify all of this information in your process. So the power of imagination. So I'd just like you to think about what the ideal terminal looks like for you. And every operator has a slightly different opinion, right? But what is the ideal process happening at the gate, the rail, the quay, and in the yard? What is it that you want it to look like, and what is your vision going forward? All right, this imagination leads to innovation, but it all has to start with your imagination to drive these concepts forward. And when I think about imagination, I can't help but think about Walt Disney. And he was a true innovator in every way imaginable, but he has some great quotes and some great lines which I think are directly applicable to terminal operations. Right? Disneyland, or your container terminal, will never be completed. It'll grow as long as there is imagination left in the world. So where does that imagination come from? It comes from your own staff, right? It comes from your partners. It comes from your customers. It comes from bureaucrats, perhaps government organizations. It comes from a lot of different parties. That they all have these ideas about things that need to be done. And because a terminal and a port are just very dynamic places that are constantly transforming, right? It'll constantly be developing thanks to your imagination and the innovation that's spawned from that. When we're talking about Walt Disney, he was rejected for the Mickey Mouse concept over 300 times. Right? But he never gave up. He kept pushing forward. And in the end, he said it's kind of fun to do the impossible. Right? He was told that it was impossible to do, yet he did it. And that kind of perseverance is also required in our industry. Right? Not just Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie. He had a container ship of his own, apparently. But also Malcolm McLean. People told him that he was crazy. Right? That this idea of containerization, it's too far-fetched. There are too many obstacles in the way. It's not going to happen. Yet, what would the industry look like today without the perseverance of Malcolm McLean? So, regarding vision technology, it's a pretty interesting field. Right? Are we looking at puppies or bagels? Right? Are we looking at labradoodles or fried chicken? Right? These are the types of problems that vision technology is trying to solve in different aspects of the world. Right? And this is quite funny, of course, but when we start thinking about how this applies to terminal operations, we have container codes on boxes that look this bad, right? A human cannot read many of these codes without really having to focus and scrutinize. Yet machine vision, thanks to deep learning, is at a point that it can do this. So camera systems, such as an ADDS system or an OCR system, can digitize this information, share it with a third-party system, such as the TOC, faster and more accurately than a human can. And that's the main takeaway from this, that vision technology is more advanced than humans today. And in the past, I've talked about Terminator-level accuracy, right, this Arnold Schwarzenegger android, but that's really where we are today. Right, so imagining the impossible, 10 years ago in terminal operations, it would have been inconceivable to think that a camera system could tell you the make, model, and color of a vehicle coming into the operation. Yet here we're doing that today, right? You take a look at the back of a box, and all of this data can be extracted with a very simple camera system. Is there a seal? What type of seal? How many seals? Dangerous goods labels, ISO codes, box ID, door direction. All of this is now a standard part of vision technology systems thanks to deep learning. Take a look at this license plate. That number is so bad that you cannot read it. Yet the machine can see it and can share it much faster than a human. Right? The basic idea here is that if there's something in an image, you can digitize it and you can share that information. And many of these things were inconceivable less than a decade ago. A great example is camera systems on a spreader. Right? It's too rough of an environment. Yet today, we have at least 15 sites around the globe with a top view system, meaning it's turned every single spreader into a smart device, automatically link the box ID to that spreader to automate operations. So damage detection. So there's many different types of damage that you can find in cargo. So imagine these gems coming off of a ship going into the stack, right? You need to verify that this is the right cargo you want going into the stack and it's in the right condition. Right, there are all sorts of health, safety issues, literally costing the industry billions of dollars per year. Lawrence knows about this. Right? But with this vision technology software, as a simple software tool, it's an add-on to an existing OCR portal, crane OCR system, or simple vision technology system on the gate or rail. So this top image is a line scan image, right? You may have seen this before. The truck is coming into the terminal. You can easily identify the box ID and some other pertinent information. But now in this lower image, you can see that there's an AI level to it that's automatically detecting the damage, digitizing it, and it appears in a user interface like this for your clerks. So no longer do clerks have to scan through images of boxes or even be standing out in lanes on ladders. They can do this from the safety of a management room. They get automatic alerts for boxes. Okay? But what happens if not all the boxes are damaged? Because the reality is many of them aren't. So clerks might spend time looking at boxes that are undamaged, therefore they're wasting their time and efficiency. So there's some real math behind this. So imagine a truck is coming in, has 3 boxes. If you have images of the boxes, you have a total of 10 visible sides. Let's imagine 10,000 boxes just for the sake of simplicity. That's 100,000 images to view. That's not going to happen in real time. There's no way for clerks to manage that in a live operation. However, with this ADDS system, it becomes an exception handling event. From those 100,000 images, maybe 1,000 have damage that actually need to be assessed in some way that are relevant for the M&R center or relevant for your client. Now we've just reduced the workload by 99%. Now it's actually manageable for your clerks. For example, in this transaction here, that front box has no damage in it. There's no need for a clerk to interact at all regarding that first box. The back 2, damage, take action. This box on the bottom, no damage, let it go. So it's very simple in that sense. You have an input image, you have artificial intelligence, you have output notifying clerks where there is damage. Really that simple. So what does this look like in action? So at TPS in Sarabaya, a good-sized terminal, about 1.5 million boxes per year. They had an incumbent OCR system, giving them very low read rates and giving them images that they couldn't really do much with, right? Not very good quality. And they had a strong focus on customer service in the sense that the shipping line was charging them quite a bit for damaged cargo that they probably weren't responsible for. They wanted to increase throughput capacity and truck turnaround time. So again, coming back to those KPIs that we talked about at the beginning. So on the land side, we're able to put in 3 lanes in, 3 lanes out to digitize all of that information. Container code, license plate, seal, door presence. The more interesting part is on the key side. So now this portal is installed between the key and the yard. Every single box that comes off the key goes into the yard, first drives through this portal. Trucks can move through there at 20 kilometers per hour, or terminal tractors in this case. And we automatically alert the operators if there's damage. So they know that the box should not go into the stack. They can notify the shipping line that some kind of action may need to be taken, or some kind of action may need to take place. Right. The cargo can go to the M&R center, shipping line is informed, and we have improved KPIs. Lawrence, last slide. Closing thought, the power of imagination from Einstein. He said, imagination is more important than knowledge because knowledge is limited to all we know. But with imagination, you embrace the entire world and all there ever will be to know and understand. So my closing thought is please embrace your imagination about the digitalization of process automation. Lawrence, I did the best I could with that. I think that's pretty good. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Yannick Leader. He's the Product Manager, Asset Management Excellence at HPC Hamburg Port Consulting. Yannick will talk about clear end-to-end processes as a basis for maintenance strategies.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for moderating on me. So let's get started how this clicker is working. So today we talk about clear end-to-end processes as a basis for maintenance strategy. And I'm very happy to be here to guide you through this. Before we start, I do also have a short agenda. So first up, I will talk about who I am, so you get a good overview of who's actually talking to you. After that, we will have brief description of maintenance strategy, look at what maintenance strategies are there in the market, how they are interconnected, and how they are actually dependent on one another, before we start going to end-to-end processes, and have a good and clear overview of what are end-to-end processes and why they are the basis for our maintenance strategies. And in the end, we will have a conclusion and summary to sum everything up so you get the best takeaway from here. So, but let us start who I am. So I'm Yannick Lieder, I'm from Hamburg, and for my academic background, I studied economics and Chinese, and did my master in international management and marketing, so a little off from that industry. But I started with Lufthansa Technik, so coming from the aviation, and in the aviation business, maintenance is like big scale. So there's a lot of maintenance in the aviation industry and a little less maybe in the port and harbor industry. So, but now I'm here for IT consultant and product management, asset management excellence to change this together with you. HPC, I'm from Hamburg Port Consulting at the moment. We do have our booth right there, so E4, you can actually see it from here. It's like 10 minutes, so after the show we can also have some talks about what I've presented and what your thoughts are to get a good and clear overview for the next steps. So we did over 1,700 projects in more than 130 countries. We do a lot of equipment consulting services, more than 470 done in the years. And first fully automated terminal at CTA. Most of you maybe have heard about this. Super cool. We're 100 enthusiasts in this consultancy. And we do a variety of projects coming from digitalization over commercial aspects, master plans, but also asset management excellence, which I'm going to jump in right now. So looking at these pictures, the question arises why we do need maintenance strategies. So if not, we can have a look at this picture and see what happens if equipment is not maintained. So paying no attention to maintenance results in first value loss for you, waste of resources, and in the end, low productivity. Because if your equipment is not running, you won't have any productivity. And no one can afford to destroy as a value. So neither from a commercial nor sustainable point of view. And bad maintenance in the end will lead to increased cost. So we are here to change this. And this is what we're aiming for. Fully functioning equipment. And the question is, how can we achieve this? So how can you maintain your port handling equipment cost efficiently and mitigate work downtime at the same time? And there are actually different approaches to answering this question. And we will have a look at different types of doing maintenance strategies. And they have in common that they're all revolve around equipment availability and connect costs. So applying the right mix of maintenance strategies is key to work cost efficiently and to reduce work downtime at the same time. And maintenance strategies incorporate a quite range of approaches. And there are no clear lines between these, and many of you have probably seen this. Let's only differentiate here in the 4 places, like reactive, preventive, predictive, and prescriptive. Meaning reactive is something breaks, then we fix it. Preventive is we have our maintenance schedules and maintain our equipment before it breaks. Then we can have predictive maintenance, so we apply some sensors, get the data, and do predictive maintenance. Or prescriptive maintenance, that the machine is actually helping us to get more spare parts once something breaks. But there are no clear lines, as I just mentioned. So, for example, looking at predictive. If we know and we predict a failure, then we will definitely take preventive measures to not have this predicted failure. Or if we look at condition-based monitoring as well, it's also part. If we have the condition and we know that something fails, we will have a preventive maintenance. And only because we have preventive maintenance doesn't mean we don't roll over a nail, our tire breaks, and we do reactive maintenance. So you see it's multidimensional and they depend on one another and are all interconnected. But we're not here to make like clear cuts between them or to find the ultimate mix of maintenance strategies for your port or terminal, because this depends on many other factors like facility-specific requirements, the diverse mix of equipment you have, and the staff available, and many other factors. But we are here to understand that there is complexity and that there are interconnections. And we want to understand and make it clear to apply the right mix we want to have, and that there's one single basis for all of them. And the thing which differentiates that is the level of digitalization we have for our maintenance strategies. And the basis for this, in the end, are our end-to-end processes. So, but what are end-to-end processes? I do have like a very long quote of that, and I'm happy to read it out to you. The sequence of all activities necessary and directly related to the business case to produce a service for a customer, which is internally or externally, that meets a prior need of the customer and is therefore of value for the customer, together with the allocation of the resources necessary to do so. So quite complex quote, and it's like, okay, said everything and nothing. So what does it mean? Meaning it takes a system from the beginning to an end and delivers a fully functioning solutions with all parties involved. A goal of an end-to-end process is actually to not be functional in center, but to address large-scale issues around the whole value chain of your company. So the pain today is that we do have existing solutions, and they are often the piecemeal and lack complete solutions to keep equipment operating cost efficiently. And often we do have a variety of reports, a variety of calculations and data, which make it hard to identify our cost savers. And therefore, we need a broader, more holistic view, and end-to-end processes will give us exactly this. So they are thought through the whole company and start somewhere and can end somewhere, and responsibilities and required data for smooth handling need to be considered from start to the end. Let me give you a quick example for this. So think about a machine learning and machine sensors which detects wear and tear. So if we do have a smart machine and we picture a scenario of prescriptive maintenance so that your machine is actually buying or placing an order at a supplier, it would then, of course, issue an order at your supplier to get the spare part it needs when it breaks. But if that was it, then the production planner would have a bad time, since he or she wouldn't have the information that actually a part is coming. And if that was it, then also it would create a goods receipt clarification, an invoice clarification, and a lot of unnecessary workflows. And we don't want to have to deal with that in the end. So this is only one example why also in prescriptive maintenance, we need to define the whole process to save the costs in the end. And this applies to all strategies, because in the end, it does not matter whether the system in the end buys your spare part or a human is doing this. It's necessary to have the right information and contacted the right contact person in the end. But before we are also having a look at communication and responsibilities, I think we should wrap it up here and go to the takeaways. So only through the end-to-end view can imponderables and the difficulties we face be absorbed in order to be able to be cost efficiently in maintenance strategy. And we do face a continuous cost pressure, so efficient operations and maintenance will become increasingly important. So processes are the basis to master the leap, and accountabilities and responsibilities in our communication flow are key to achieve this. So data plays a more important role in the course of digitalization and will be the basis to get the leap from one maintenance strategy to another. Doesn't matter where you start, if you do corrective maintenance, preventive maintenance, or predictive maintenance. If you want to go on and go further, you need your master data, your processes, and your accountabilities. My question for you is, what are your end-to-end processes? And I'm very happy to meet you at booth E94 to discuss this with you. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Frederick Johansson. He's the head of sales for ABB, and Frederick will encourage us to take the leap and turn space into capacity and improve productivity. Look forward to hearing what he's going to say there.
Thank you, Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get started, I would like to ask you a question. How many of you operate cranes or work in a terminal? Raise your hands. 1? 2? Okay. So the rest is competition and other suppliers. Okay, very good. Then we know. And I have to learn this one also. I will try to latch on to the previous speakers with not telling people how they should do. I would like to give you an overview of what people actually have done during the last couple of years. The whole presentation is like a takeaway, inspiration, and we will go a little bit around the world here. We have a case in Panama, MIT Panama. We will look into that. We jump to a new terminal in HPH terminal in Stockholm, Sweden. There's another terminal not too far away from here, is Ctb Hamburg, Germany, that we will take a look at. And also in the PSA Hexagon, where they have done some interesting additions to the key cranes. So let's start. We start in MIT, Cologne, Panama. It's on the Caribbean side of Panama. What have they done? They actually put cantilever ARMGs in an existing RTG operation. They put in 3 ASC blocks, that's 6 cranes in the yard. They also did quite an extensive refurbishment of the gate, relocated the gates, access roads, and so on. Went electrified, of course, stacking cranes electric to reduce the dependency of fossil fuels. Remote control, of course, unmanned stacking cranes, and implementation of RFID. And, of course, addressing, we all talk about safety. Lawrence likes that. We all like that. It's actually very important. Safety for staff, productivity, of course, we all talk about that. And of course, and very importantly, I think that was one of the KPIs from the first speaker, which is the truck turnaround time, which is very important to address. So, a little bit of inspiration for you who thinks that RTGs are so flexible. Look at what we have here. We have 6 units cantilever ARMGs, and basically they replace one cantilever RMG basically replaces 2 RTGs. By doing that, we can increase the density of the terminal. Typically, we are looking at figures around 20-25% of increasing capacity of the terminal. These 6 cranes, they are controlled by 2 remote traffic controllers, and of course addressing the OPEX. And the truck turnaround time was reduced from hour plus down to 10 to 15 minutes. And of course electric, so less dependency on fossil fuels. Interesting is that these 6 cranes, they represent 8% of the total crane fleet, but they perform actually 25% of the moves. We skip to a little bit north. We go to Stockholm, Sweden. It's a terminal that they have relocated from downtown city to a location closer to the Baltic Sea, where there is a natural draft of 16.5 meters. They are lucky enough to have an on-dock rail. And the terminal is located in a very sensitive area in the Stockholm archipelago. It's a very beautiful area, and if you visit our booth, which is C70, you will see a huge picture of the archipelago, where the terminal is located. HPH, they choose to go, even it's a very small terminal, they choose to go remote. So the cranes are operated remotely and automatically from the control room. And of course, they also put on OCR. Aside from a quote from maybe you know Andy Lewis is today is the head of operations, engineering, and automation in the terminal. He's talking about consistency and predictability and the benefits of go remote and automation. Very happy. We move back to South America. In this particular case, we have PSA Exelgon Argentina. Safety again, of course, we want to separate people from machines. So we go, in this case, we go with OCR on 7 on the STS cranes. Productivity, of course, again, productivity, but we are talking about modular automation here. So it's not, you don't need to go into a mega terminal with all the bells and whistles. You can go small also. That's basically a takeaway from this case. Data quality, of course, previous speakers were talking about how to read numbers and so on, and this actually improves a lot the data quality in the cargo handling process. And of course, future-proofing the overall process. Again, a quote from Duncan Glass. He's a terminal manager. This you can read for yourself. We add on the ABB's OCR technology with the KeyPro application software, and I believe we have our OCR expert available if you have more questions in our booth. I soon done my 10 minutes, Lawrence. I know that. Okay, so we move back to Europe. Many of you are probably familiar with the Hamburg Terminal, Ctb Hamburg Terminal, where we have sort of a complex configuration of the yard, where we have end-loaded ASCs with 3 cranes per block, where we have 2 sizes of cranes. We have 2 small ones and a big one, and the big one can pass over the 2 smaller ones. And this project is not one project, but it has been a project that has been going on from 2015, where we have added new cranes, and we have also upgraded 24 of the existing ones with modern technology and automation. And this was done during the live terminal during operation, so has been very challenging. Interesting also is that this integration of the new cranes was done without any changes to the existing TOC system. So, takeaway, the whole presentation was a takeaway, but we are talking about future-proofing, we are talking about modularized automation for a world in motion. 9 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, Frederick. Very good. You sort of finished 2 minutes early. Very good. Okay, our next speaker is Fulvio Pellegrotti. He's the CEO of S-Cube. Fulvio will tell us about automated reefer management systems.
Good afternoon to everybody. Thanks to be here. For me, it's the second time of the TOC, let's say after the lockdowns and the problems of the COVID. Now, I'm owning a couple of companies that are working in the automation of one particular activity in the marine terminals and on vessels also. So it is a management of the reefer containers. It is the only place where still the automation is not on. So it means one activity is the disconnection of the reefer container. Currently, there are around 3 million reefer containers around the world. And whenever they arrive in a port, in a marine terminals, or even on a vessel, they must be connected to the electricity power, 380 volts, 32 ampere that they need to run and to maintain the cargo temperature. This work is done manually by a number of electricians or sometimes even checkers inside the terminals and on board. These people is going in the reefer racks normally existing in the terminals, crossing the yard areas, together the equipment, heavy equipment like trucks, like ITV, RTG or whatsoever, cranes, and so with a dangerous environment. They do this work in an open space because a rack is a construction, so it's a tower open to the atmosphere. So if it's raining, if it is snowing, or if it is windy, it doesn't matter. They are in the middle, and they manage also power, so cables for 380 volts and 32 ampere, which is also risky. More than this, whenever they are in a reefer rack, they are together a number of 15, 20, even more reefer containers, of which the compressors and the engines are running, and they are this is impossible for them to hear any other, let's say, signal, voice, or even use a radio, because the noise is so strong that they need minimum headphone, the earphone there, covers in the hair, but anyway, it is also a dangerous situation. So, after that, what we have done, we founded our company. The first one is S-Cube, as told before, and we started to prototype an equipment that, disfruiting the RFID principle, is finding a specific plug on placed in a container, reefer container. Currently, it is a plug that is removable because we need to install this plug in the container itself as a retrofit or as a normal installation, which will take time. Currently, we made a plug box that is applicable to the container when the container is arriving, in a same specific place like gates or like a reefer workshop or under the vessel in the pinning station. And then when the container is delivered and leaving from the terminal, it is collected back. This means that whenever the container is going to the yard, no one has the necessity to go reach the container in the tower, connect the plug, and make monitoring like reading temperatures, humidity, and so on. So now these people will be transferred partly in a control room. Our system is based in a mechatronic arm, anthropomorphic, for the existing reefer racks, which we cannot change because in order to be applied always without trouble, without modifying anything of the structure, we had to study and to create a specific arm that will find the plug temporarily now in, as you see down in the right side of the image there, and will connect the power whenever there is a signal order from the TOC, so the system of the terminal or the vessel. In the future, this plug will be retrofitted to the container. We are now applying for a TIC 4.0 committee in order to include this new standard in the reefer containers. This will take time. But meanwhile now, we started also with our company to manufacture, to create a specific tower. So it means whenever there is a new construction, so a greenfield or a retrofitting of a terminal, in order to be ready to host a specific version of the automation, so less costly of the single arm that we saw before, this we will give a specific tower made modularly instead of constructing the tower in the yard, this tower is made by modules assembled and completely finished in our factory in Italy, ready and tested. They will be sent to the terminal, and to assemble a full tower like this one, the need is, let's say, not more than 4 hours. Then another couple of days to set up all the digitization that is inside and to make running the tower in order to manage all the reefer that they have. This is, let's say, a small revolution of the activity of creating racks inside the terminals. Because currently, if you see what is happening, is each terminal necessitating a rack has to isolate an area and keep it without operation for a couple of months. Instead, with let's say, maximum 5 working days, a rack is operational. So, and is ready to host our automation. So it means that can work digitalized now without automation, but next year when we will be ready for the, let's say, industrially to deliver the automation, it can also install the automation very easily. So this is the way how we are producing the smart reefer rack, as called it. All these products are patented, of course, and trademark. It can be modular, serving areas served by cranes with different span, 6 up to 12 rows, and easily assembling, ready in such way from the terminal. Transported each module like a container. It is an empty container, similar, and assembled in the yard using the terminal equipment. So it is very quick in effect. Is fit with the maximum that we can give for supporting alerts, for digitalization, so means video surveillance and any kind of support application that we can give now connected to the TOC. So it is for us it is following the maximum that we can deliver for the industry 4.0. It is also supported by many governments of the nations. Okay. The system that will be, the automation that will serve the new smart reefer rack is that one. It is a specific trolley which serves 6 up to 12 containers instead of one anthropomorphic arm. This will be ready by 2023, is now under final prototyping, and will be, of course, installed in the smart reefer rack. All the system is fit basically with the Identech reefer runner, so the reefer monitoring. Who knows this is a... So we didn't want to invent the wheel or the warm water, as we say, because the market is already full of these products. We had a very good opportunity to have a partnership with Identech, and we offer in our racks and automation an embedded reefer runner. Our plans are here, so means we are finishing our prototyping and proof of concept, which will be one in Genova, one in Jebel Ali, in Box Bay, who also thought about this. And by 2023, first semester, we will be ready in the industry to produce as much as possible of the products. This is our team, okay? And we use, of course, other providers, companies. But this is our team for all the companies. So me and the CEO, CTO from, they are also with me here. And the low team, this is the support team from the companies. Where we are producing smart reefer rack in Cagliari, which is the island of Sardinia in the center of the Mediterranean. And currently in the old establishment, the old factory. But we are moving this within September just near the terminal container of Cagliari. So means we will be 0 kilometer distance between, say, shipping the products and receiving materials. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Fulvio. That sounds great. Like the reefer technicians is, as you say, is one area that's not automated, and those people go out into unsafe areas. And could you next look at what we can do to get put the lashes and the pinmen into safe areas? They're the other two areas where we haven't been able to automate just yet, fully. Okay, could you look at that one? Yeah, it's much more difficult. Okay, thanks, Fulvio. Okay, our next speaker is Kunal Singh. He's the Sales Engineer and Solutions Architect for Navis. Kunal will help us understand mixed cargo operations, the challenges and the opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you, Lawrence. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you all in person after a couple of years of absence. And in today's session, as Lawrence mentioned, I'm going to talk about mixed cargo operations and look at some of the challenges and unique challenges when you compare them to container terminals. And we'll also look at opportunities more from a technology point of view, what opportunities are available for mixed cargo terminals. But before I get into that, a little bit about Navis. Navis is the partner of choice for customers around the globe. We have about 490 terminals, a large majority of which are mixed cargo terminals in across 80 countries. And these terminals are using one of our 3 terminal operating systems with N4, Master Terminal, and Octopi. When we talk about challenges that are unique for mixed cargo terminals, and I again reiterate the point around uniqueness, we don't see those challenges in container terminals. There is high labor cost because the type of cargo you're handling or the type of commodity you're handling might require a much larger or a much skilled workforce. So understandably, the cost of labor will be high because there is no standardization. There is also regional competition. Mixed cargo terminals are competing with container terminals because more and more cargo is being containerized. But they're also competing with mixed cargo terminals in the region for spot cargo. So for example, you can have a vessel providing you spot cargo today, but for the next visit, you will have to win that vessel again. So there is a lot of intense regional competition as well. They are severely affected by weather events, especially cargo which is out there in the open, dry bulk, hugely impacted by rain, wind, strong weather, etc. And one of the most important points is the technological neglect. A large share of the solutions and the innovations in the maritime sector are for container terminals and have been adopted by container terminals. So the mixed cargo terminals don't really have that solution in the market which provides them this special requirements that they have for their type of cargo. So when we talk in more details about some of the challenges, what we see is that non-standard handling seems to be the #1 challenge for mixed cargo terminals. As you're handling different types of cargo, different type of commodity, you might require different type of equipment, different type of labor, and all of this adds to the overall cost that you spend on operation, but also adds to the time of operations. There is an increased risk of human error. So let's say you receive a manifest to get 500 tons of fertilizers, but you only end up getting 495 tons. So are you recording this discrepancy when you're discharging this bulk cargo? Or how are you recording this information? So when you compare to a container operation, it's a higher risk of error when humans are working with break bulk and bulk cargo. And then there's also a balancing act between customer service and profit. Mixed cargo terminals work with a low profit margin, so that's also a point that needs to be taken into consideration. Now, more cargo means more types of services, right? You can provide services like packaging, blending, sieving, warehousing, container filling, etc. So it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity for terminals. So they need a system that can capture all of this complexity in real time. Otherwise, what will happen is that you will leave revenue sitting on the table. So there is a challenge, but also an opportunity in providing value-added but complex services. And then there is volatility in volume. Because there are so many different types of cargo being handled by mixed cargo terminals, there can be volatility due to economical reason, political reasons, and also seasonal reasons. Let's say you store some fruits or vegetables at your terminal. They can be seasonal. So the yard or the warehouse which occupies this cargo is not being utilized for the time period when it's off-season. So how do you manage your yard? Your layout of your yard is dynamically changing. Your planning strategies are constantly changing. So you need a system which can handle the complexity of managing your dynamic yard. So we've touched on a few challenges around non-standard handling because of limited standardization, complex and varied operations because of different types of cargo, and volatility in volumes. So the solutions that we are looking for, they need to be more flexible and more adaptable. They need to provide diverse technology support, and they need to also provide traceability and visibility because that's where the world is going now. So when we talk about solutions, we want the solutions to be more flexible and more adaptable. Your business is constantly evolving. It's evolving due to economical reasons, but there could also be reasons like opportunities to add more services or more cargo to your business. So you need a system that can adapt as you add more different types of cargo to your business. And it also needs to provide those complex invoicing requirements. Invoicing in mixed cargo is fairly complex. There's different criteria, so it needs to capture those level of details as well. Then there needs to be the difference or the trade-off that you need to consider is between standard configuration and customized configuration. So how much customization you required, how much standard configuration you require. And then there is deployment options. This is more of a field which is evolving. So how do you want to deploy your solution? It is cloud-based, is it on-prem, is it subscription-based? So you need to take that into consideration as well. There also needs to be technological support. The system needs to integrate with all the possible hardware used by mixed cargo terminals. So things like weigh bridges, OCR, gate kiosk, barcode scanners. And it's not just hardware, also the other software systems like your internal IT systems, your ERP, accounting, customs, etc. And you also need to provide that customer-defined EDI to really enable that data integration. There is a lot of non-standard work going on in mixed cargo terminals. So to provide that customer-defined EDI is really critical to get that data moving very efficiently. And then there is traceability and visibility. You need to be able to identify all types of cargo. We trace and identify containers, but you should be able to do, or the system should be able to do, also identify bulk, break bulk, ro-ro, and project cargo. And it's not just about identifying and tracing them, but it's also about providing the visibility to the correct stakeholders in real time. As there are so many different cargos, so many different customers, every customers have different requirements, different processes, different reports, different billing requirements. There is a lot of complexity around mixed cargo in the terminal operating system. So you need to have a system that's able to capture all these complexities for you and really provide the real time of traceability and visibility. So when you're in the market looking for a mixed cargo TOC solution, what you need to look out for is the deployment option. How do you want to deploy the solution? It is subscription-based, is it cloud-based, is it on-prem? What are the pros and cons of each deployment? It needs to provide you the latest features. The solution you're buying should be able to provide you not just functional features, but also features for security. Data breaches are fairly common, and you need to have all those latest features built into the system and constantly being upgraded. You should also be able to configure your system easily, and the ease of use is one point which is very important. The end users should not find it difficult to use a terminal operating system. It should be able to easily integrate with external systems, and it should fit effectively in your IT landscape. And finally, it should provide you value for money. The software that you're investing in today should not be, it should be the latest and most up-to-date software today in the market, but it should also be the most up-to-date software in 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So this is a huge investment. So when you make that decision, please keep that into consideration. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is, well, two speakers. You get two for the price of one here. Dave Walraven, he's the Chief Commercial Officer of CERTUS Automation. And we have Jeroen van Meel, the Program Manager at the Port of Rotterdam. Right. Now, they're going to give us a case study, and it's on a multi-user gate in operation at the Port of Rotterdam, City Terminal, I think. Okay.
Yes, sir. So, although we were two of us, we only have 10 minutes, my friends. So, most of all, welcome in Rotterdam, and also welcome in the Port of Rotterdam. My name is Jeroen van Meel, and I give you a guided tour around the City Terminal. And there is Dave, and he wants to sell some solutions to you, but we think we're a good couple. How does this work? Next one. So that's me. 30 years working in port environments, building container terminals with some guys already here. In the Netherlands, we also build roads, real estates, quaywall construction, you name it. But today we're looking at gate solutions. And why is gate solution so crucial? Just to imagine you're sitting here, somewhere here. There is the old terminal, and there is the Maasvlakte, although it's the Port of Rotterdam, it's about 60 kilometers from here. And what we see that the large deep sea is going to the west, is going to the sea, to the better nautical access, leaving a terminal of about 60 to 70 acres left for new business, for new users, and for new type of terminals. So there are new opportunities for old port areas. So this is a picture where it's all about. At 2080, a large container operator, ECT, Europe Combined Terminals, left and went to the west, giving this old area. And you can see a little bit on this picture, for instance, that the stack area is relatively small. You see quaywall constructions, of course. You see warehouses. It's very good equipped, for instance, for short sea and short sea operations. And we got a lot of customers. And in the other hand, you also see very limited space for gates. You see, oh, you didn't see, but there is also a small city. And on Friday, there was a lot of congestion. And for citizens, it wasn't even possible to do some groceries on a Friday morning due to the cargo traffic. So gates, congestion, road trucks are a major headache in these old areas. And as a port, we're not interested in technology. I'm sorry for that. I don't want to bother anyone. We're looking for solutions. And of course, we want to sell our old port. This gives you an indication of type of companies. We got short sea, we got warehousing. We got the largest refrigerated warehouse of Northwestern Europe, cool port, a lot of companies. We're here, and the red lines are the roads. And we only have one road for 6 companies. And each company told us we want a gate of our own. Now try to make the picture where you have to do and where you want to connect to the highways. It's almost impossible. And then we say, okay, you got one gate, and we make a terrible agreement with them. You have to cooperate. In the Netherlands, you got the Dutch saying, you better have a good neighbor than a far friend. But working together as a team, various companies in a port area, hell. Never mind. This was the gate, the old gate facilities. And we said, okay, as no one of you guys want to do it, we as a port started with the redevelopments of this gate. And there was a lot of investments. We make blueprints, we made new buildings. We want to use the latest information technology. But the most crucial one, it should be multi-user. The gate should be able to have the cool port warehouse, to have the RST short sea, to have the empty depot of Kramer, and all these companies should be facilitated with one gate. Oh yeah, and by the way, we only can redevelop because the business is open, and Now, maybe during nighttime, I give you a small time slot for some redevelopment. Maybe, if I'm nice to you. All right, we did a phase delivery, and we got 9 separate truck situations during the redevelopment. It took us 3 years to come there. And at this moment in time, we are, I think, 2,000 drivers a day. From a peak perspective, we upgraded, I think, the terminal from 250 to 500. And I must say, it works. And how we did it, he might like to tell you, and that's for you, my friend.
Hello, Rotterdam. Wakey, wakey. I guess I'm the last one, so I think that's my advantage. I can continue talking until you leave. On the other hand, also quite a challenge. Huh? I'm between you and your nice sip at a terrace at Rotterdam with a nice sunset in a late evening. So I'll keep it sweet. Yeah, it's up to me to explain a little bit more about the technology and the challenges that we had for the city terminal project. I also need to figure out how this works. This is me. Dave Walraven, Head of Sales and Marketing within CERTUS Automation, automation company that does OCR and process automation in ports and terminals and logistics facilities. Active for over 12 years with the company, active for over 15 years in port automation. And as said, I'll tell you more about the technology that we deployed. And I'll start easy. I said I'll keep it sweet, so let's start with a movie. Easy for me. Here's how it looks like today. I invite you all to do a site tour. I'm more than happy to host you. It's pretty close, actually. What you see here is every truck processed through an OCR portal, independent from the terminal that they are destined. They go through a single portal where we capture all the data. At a single security process point, we verify every truck driver and the mission of the driver, again, independent of your destination. After which you go to your destination, so to a terminal or to the cold store or to a depot. And from that you go back to the same gate where the data is shared with all the different facilities where again, individual integrations are made. Every terminal or every user within the facility or within the corporation has its own yard in or yard out process point. So a very slim gate instead of a full gate, as Jeroen mentioned. And as mentioned, there's a central security out for all the different users. And I think Jeroen gave it away a bit. It was quite a road to get there because there's quite some challenges. If you look at a traditional automated gate deployment, we start normally with a workshop and you have one user at the opposite of the table and you discuss the requirements, the business flows, you agree and you move on with the detailed design and you go on with the realization stage. In this scenario, we had multiple business owners or stakeholders in the project. So already mentioned the different terminal operators. Not yet mentioned is customs and also port security. Each had their own requirements on the project and their own business requirements, sometimes even contradicting with each other. So all in all, that was quite a challenge. I think in the end, we had approximately 20 design reviews, functional design review meetings, followed by approximately 10 technical design review meetings. But in the end, we concluded. And also not worth mentioning is each operator or each stakeholder had its own planning. And in the meantime, when during this project, there were also 2 users who were planning to migrate their TOS. So in combination with the 9 scenarios that Jeroen mentioned about implementing this solution in a brownfield scenario, also aligning the planning and also the different projects that every stakeholder had going on, we also had to cope with that. Jeroen already highlighted a little bit, so there's a master design where the various process points are defined. So at the bottom you see line item number 1 where there's a central OCR portal. where every truck drives through, ending up in item number 2, which is called security in, or in automated gate scenarios, also often referred to as a pre-gate in, where we identify the driver and its mission to where he should go. If everything is successful, he proceeds to number 3, where there's, as we call it here, is an inspection process point. So at the inspection process point, everything is verified with his mission. And from there, he goes to the terminal or to his destination, where there's a yard, a simple process point where he's checked in and then does his transaction. Going out is very similar. So for time's sake, I'll save you. So what is a multi-user GOS? Why is it special? You can imagine if a truck driver is at a process point, just a simple scenario, when he hits the button for the VoIP dialing, where should the phone ring? And that's a simple question, but pretty hard to answer. If you have so many users in an environment, so you need to know what is the destination of the truck, and you need to set clear responsibilities within the truck stage who will be responsible. In the end, we ended up with a solution that, based on the truck destination, that we dispatch the phone call to the right terminal. Something else, if you develop a multi-user GOS, so which is a layer over all the different gate operating systems, who's going to host it? Who will be responsible for the hosting itself? Nobody stepped up saying, yes, I will do that. So what the end scenario was that there's now a central hosting as CERTUS provided as part of its services. So there's a central in the cloud, let's call it a private cloud, with a dedicated connection to the different terminals where the entire gate operating system is hosted. One other challenge, all the data that is gathered, where will it be gathered and who has access to that? You can imagine there's a lot of data generated by the OCR portals, the truck visits, the responses from the TOS. Who has access to that data? So we ended up with a solution where all the data is sent to a central data share, and the different users of the multi-user GOS, they pool the data to their own environment. So we consider the multi-user GOS is basically a cache which holds the data until someone picks it up. And last, another challenge was rights and responsibilities. Again, you have customs, you have security, you have terminal operators. So who has access to historical data? So we made a clear matrix who has access when, and that was implemented in the software too. Now we concluded, okay, this is not the standard gate operating system. So we developed a new GOS, which is built from scratch. We call it the central gate operating system, or again, the multi-user GOS. And this a bit technical architecture, I'm sorry for that, I hope you understand, but I'll guide you through. So on top you see the central software that we applied and all the hardware that is shared with the different operators or different users in the city terminal is connected to that central GOS. In addition to that, still every terminal operator or user still has its own GOS hosted on its own premises. And every integration and business rules are still user specific. So there's still custom TOS integration for the different users. And all of that communicates together, again, with a piece in the private cloud and a piece on-premise for the terminals. OCR. There was an OCR portal already in operation there for a decade. RST was using that portal. But about 4 years ago, we came to the position that all the users had to pass through, and we detected not all the users are having the same cargo, like RST. Pretty clear boxes, pretty nice, all the standards we do, and as we had before. Then with the other users, we saw, hey, there's now way different cargo. There's a lot of tanks, there's trailers, there's open bulk cargo. So we had to adopt. Luckily, at the time, and we're talking about 4 years ago, we shifted to an AI engine, which made everything possible, that we recognize everything way faster, and we can support every feature, like automated damage detection and all the features that we have here on the screen. I think I already mentioned, but just to repeat, so all the data that is shared in a central storage, and every terminal operator can pool the data. So that's pretty unique, and we believe that's the concept for the future. The OCR portal is a big data center which generates a lot of data, and we recommend sharing is caring, of course. Yeah, it was quite a challenge. We believe that teamwork will make it happen. Again, there were a lot of stakeholders, and you need to get them all in line. As from CERTUS end, we were very much, we really appreciated the help of the Port Authority of Rotterdam. They had program managers and project managers involved, civil engineers, which highly contributed to the success of the project and get all the different stakeholders aligned with each other. Where are we today? A little bit proudness for me, because what we see is we have one operator, for example, who confirmed. Previously, I had truck turnaround times. We had the TTT before, the KPI. John, thank you. Previously 90 minutes, which is now for this operator became 34 minutes, of which we are very proud and which we are trying to achieve even better by day. Furthermore, as you maybe have seen, it was designed for up to 2,000 truck moves a day. Today we are already at 2,500 truck moves per day. And that's it. I kept it sweet. So thank you. Lawrence, may I give it to you? Maybe we want to do the question round before we release everything to the city of Rotterdam.
Could I invite the speakers and we'll get up on the stage?
Okay, the developers of solution for ships, they complain that there is no guidance, that what is developing is kind of chaotic for ships solutions. My question is, in the case of ports, of solution for ports, if you see something similar, because in the ship solutions they are saying they want some guidance by IMO. But IMO is not going to provide this kind of guidance because IMO reacts to accidents, basically, and or to policy regulations very strong. And in this case, no accident is happening because of these solutions at ships. And then my question is to the two of you that, or three of you that talk about solutions for ports, if you see something similar in the case of yards and ports in general.
Yeah. I think there's quite some initiatives to inform the market on the developments. I think there's, for example, PIMA, ICHCA, TIC 4.0, a lot of organizations that try to contribute to share the market, what is being developed and standardize. And I think also this event highly contributes to, you know, sharing with the operators what we're doing and what's out there. So I hope I answered.
Hi, my name is Kinya Ijimura from Mitsui & So I have a question about Rotterdam City Port Gate. So do you have an appointment system? And then so if you have, what is the operation? For example, so assign the day by day or assign the time by time, hourly by hourly or AM, PM?
Yeah, good question. It started without an appointment system, but nowadays an appointment system is implemented. So the truck driver is intended to arrive with a so-called truck appointment reference or TAR code. And if he arrives with one, so doing his homework prior arriving at the security in process point that you saw, if he keys in his number, he's speedy. So, yeah.
And then if so the truck driver delayed the appointment time. So what is there any penalty or?
Okay, that's a pretty detailed question. There are business rules behind that, but from top of my head, they didn't put it that strict yet that you open a reject flow, like go away if you're too late. From top of my head, I would have to check, but there are business rules behind the arrival. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Fulvio. So the ARM system looks like really interesting. The only thing I wonder about, you normally also have to connect a data cable. Is it something you're looking at as well, to automate? Because you still have someone that needs to go physically to the reefer rack to connect the data cable, right?
Sorry, but I didn't understand what is the subject table of data.
Temperature.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, no, our system is, of course, connected to the TOS and transferring all the data that is coming from the reefer containers and also, of course, from our system itself. So all technical data, but also the information that are given by the normal reefer monitoring. So they will be centralized.
So you don't. There's no need for people physically to go to the container anymore to do temperature checks, etc.
Obviously, this one is the first necessity that we try to cover, of course. But as I said during the presentation, we didn't want to invent the wheel because there are a lot of products already around the world managing the reefer monitoring, so data. And we, having had a very good relation with Identech, so we just adopted as our normal standard reefer data monitoring the reefer runner system. Anyway, this one is not excluding any other probably already existing system with the customers.
All right, thank you. Much appreciated.
Donation.
Your ADS ADDS system looks pretty good.
Thank you.
Okay, what if I've got a gate system, an automated gate system from another provider? Could I implement your ADS system?
That's a good question. Thanks, Lawrence. Yeah, so I think one of the beauties of the Visy ADDS system is the flexibility. So we understand that there are plenty of gates operating systems that are already in use, producing images. And because our system is software-based, we can actually work with images from a third-party gate operating system on premise. So if you have a GOS and you have some basic OCR perhaps, those images can be fed to our system. We'll perform the ADDS and we can take over that part of the process for the gate.
Now there's a lot of companies that provide gate systems. Why did you select CERTUS?
I'm not allowed to talk about tendering here today, my dear friend.
Better call
maybe
your lawyer.
one of the factors was that they were already there.
Okay.
And especially for a public company, it's very difficult to tender ICT systems. And then we're talking about install-based. And if you look from a juridical point, it's rather complex to work with these guys. I'll tell you all about it in the bar.
Okay, question at the back.
My question here is for Kunal. You talked very in-depth about the challenges and the opportunities for break bulk. Does Navis now have a general cargo TOS?
Yeah, traditionally, Navis has been known for big automated container terminal operating systems, but yes, Navis do have dedicated general cargo TOS for small size terminals, so like really, really low volumes, but also from medium to large sized terminals which handle all kinds of cargo. So providing full visibility and transparency into the cargo that's being handled, whether it's RoRo, bulk, break bulk, etc.
You have customers globally?
Yes, yeah, globally, yeah, all around the world, yeah.
The end-to-end perspective, what's the first step I have to take to get to it? I'm still trying to understand where we start and where we end, but can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. So for the end-to-end perspective, so why we do it to get our processes straight, but also to get the right data to the right person. So where do we start? If we want to get the right data to the right person, we have to understand that we first have to look at our master data and harmonize our master data so we have data sets which we can actually use to get to the right persons. So we do have different processes at the moment and a lot of terminals with different responsibilities and different systems, and all of them have maybe the same data but with different namings. So first up, we want to harmonize it, then use business cases, and then think holistic end-to-end in the end.
Thanks, Yannick. Any more questions? Okay, I will let you all go and have a drink now. And please thank the speakers.